So we can all start because they're gonna just join as they come.
What time is it? Let's make sure.
It is 9.
We're 1 minute behind schedule already. Get it? Are you gonna click?
Yeah, okay.
All right, good morning. Morning, welcome. We're glad to see that you're here. We're gonna go through some introductions real quick. The first part of this introduction will not be what we do yet for Sweetwater. It's going to be more of us, who we are and where we've been in Sweetwater District. My name is Robert Hughes. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer. So if I start with my experience in Sweetwater, I start when I went to Mar Vista Junior High as a student and Mar Vista High School as a student. So I'm a graduate of the district. So I'm very proud of that because it gives me a perspective of being like a long-term, my whole life has been south of the 54 freeway, South Bay guy. I became a teacher and coach at Eastlake High School. Became an assistant principal for 11 years, principal of Hilltop Middle School, and now I'm the Chief Compliance Officer. I've been doing compliance work in the district for the past 2 years as the Chief Compliance Officer, but prior to becoming a principal, I was also at the district office as the program manager for compliance for 3 years. Ms. Cruz is the teacher on special assignment in our office. Go ahead, Ms. Cruz.
Yeah, so I'm Natalie Cruz, and I started in the district also. I went to National City Middle School and then Sweetwater, and then Otay Ranch opened up. And so I was part of that first graduating class of Otay Ranch. We didn't have no upperclassmen. We were just 10th graders and 11th graders. We didn't even have a homecoming because we didn't have nobody to come home for us. So we had what we called it an upcoming. We're upcoming graduates. We got to start a school. So that was really neat. And then I started teaching at Hilltop Middle School. I started teaching at some charter schools in San Diego, so San Diego City Schools, but I knew that this was my home, so I wanted to come back. And so I was lucky enough to get to start teaching science at Hilltop Middle School. And then I was able to I had the opportunity to work in different roles. So I was, from trying to engage students to starting programs, and all to focus on social interactions and how to make the student or help the students feel comfortable at school, how to interact, how to feel comfortable with their teachers, with other students, their peers. And so bringing programs and starting programs. So that was one of my main roles at Hilltop Middle School. And then I was fortunate enough to become a TOSA for the compliance office. Mr. Hughes was one of our principals at Hilltop Middle School, so he brought me over, and I've been creating these programs, but at the district level for all the schools. So that's been awesome. So we're going to start with an icebreaker. So you're going to put a finger up, number 1, if you would rather do number 1 or you would rather do number 2. So if you had 10 extra minutes for work or for, anything, would you rather get a coffee from Starbucks or 7-Eleven? Okay, good. We have a 7-Eleven. Would you rather go to a movie theater and relax, or go for a walk, be outside? What do you guys think? I don't know. It depends on the day. Yes, if we're tired, the first. Would you rather, and this would be the last one, take a tropical vacation? Or are you more like museums in your favorite city and walking around? And I feel like we're almost, right? We do a lot. We're very busy all the time. So these are just some of the icebreakers we do with students, just to engage them. And okay.
So our office is a very unique office, and I just want to let you know that this is the entirety of the compliance program, other than Rebecca Giza, who's our senior administrative assistant in our office. So for a school district with 40,000 students, both adult learners and kids, 32 campuses with the adult schools and middle schools and high schools, this is it, 2 of us, right? So wow. we are the compliance office. And oftentimes people see the word compliance and they think complaint, but that's not what we do wholly. We do handle certain types of complaints. So as the Chief Compliance Officer, my job, and now Natalie in our office, is to make sure that we comply with all the state and federal laws, including the 2 biggest types of complaints that we do handle, which is discrimination and sexual harassment. So those types of complaints do come to our office, and I do investigate those complaints, and I do go through a process called the uniform complaint system if a student or a family believes that they've been discriminated against by the district. So we're separate from the district office. We're in our own little niche. We're on L Street, kind of by where the old Harbor Freight and Tools was on L Street by the Health and Human Services office, right there. And we share an office with the athletics department, and there's a reason for that, because one of our other very important, critical jobs is that we are in charge of Title IX for female athletics. So we are charged with making sure that the female athletes in the district have the same opportunities that the male athletes have. And Natalie does a lot of work. We have a couple other TOSAs from the athletics office that assist with that. So those are our main jobs. But sometimes people think we're just the complaint office. Today, we're going to talk about our newest training program, and this is something that Natalie has taken on. And it's really about teaching kids how to get along. It's the Healthy Relationship Student Program, and we want to create an environment that's positive, right? So we go through icebreakers when everybody gets to know you, because that's what we want kids to do, and not just see each other as a stranger. That's the guy that sits next to me, but I don't even know what his name is or where he's from or what his story is, right? So we're going to talk today about a student's life at school. Academic success, and the social and emotional well-being. So I have gotten my two adult children are all the way through college. And I'm like, oh, but I have one more left, right? I have my 16-year-old, he's a sophomore at Eastlake High School. So I'm still in this process, as you are as parents, right? And I've gone through the 7th grade blues and the 9th grade, I don't know what's going on. And I used to tell the parents at Eastlake High School when I was an AP there, communication is it's critical, especially when the 9th grader comes into high school, because there's 3 things that a 9th grader likes to answer to you when they come home from school. Because they come home and you ask them, how was school? Fine. You ask them, what happened at school today? Nothing. And then you ask them, do they have homework? And they're like, I don't know. Right? So those are the 3 top answers from a 9th grader when they're entering in high school. But in their mind, all these things are buzzing about what life is going to be like now. And it's such a transition. It's similar for a 7th grader who has one teacher for 6 years at the elementary school and all of a sudden has 6 teachers and meeting kids at every class, every hour you're moving. So transitions, communication. Today we're going to talk about expanding the communication, because part of our program is that when we run this program with kids, it's like a 2-week thing that Natalie will explain to you. But we encourage the kids to go home and talk to you about the relationships they're having at school, whether it be with teachers, staff, coaches, peers, those types of things. So what is this program? Why is it needed? We do in the compliance office get the complaints about sexual harassment. We get the complaints about discriminatory bullying, those types of complaints. What we find is when we get that situation, it's already exploded, right? Mm-hmm. So we didn't think that the compliance office should continually be at the end of the process. We decided we need to go to the start. We need to train kids on what this means. What does it mean to be discriminatory? What does it mean to harass somebody? What does it mean to get along? What are boundaries? What are appropriate boundaries? We have a lot of situations where people's space is different, like their personal space is different. Some people are comfortable this close, some people are not comfortable that close. So we're going to show you this program that we developed to make sure that kids know what harassment is, what constitutes sexual harassment, but it's the bigger picture of getting along with one another, and understanding what healthy relationships are all about and what appropriate boundaries with peers are all about. And probably the biggest one, and I want to key in on this for you all, is like social media, right? Social media is here, right? Almost every case that we deal with in our office has some component of social media. Okay. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to make sure the program is designed to help students understand how to get along and treat each other with respect. And that's our end goal for the entire program. So I'll give it to Ms. Cruz. I'm sorry.
Go. Does anybody have any questions up until this point about the compliance office or what we do? Okay. So again, my name is Natalie Cruz, and I'm the TOSA for the compliance. So what I kind of brought in was that teacher aspect, right? So what we find is when we go into classrooms and we just say, hey, you got to behave like this, and you can't stop fighting and stop treating each other mean and stop being rude. They're just like, wah, 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 wah. You know, it goes in through one ear, comes in through the other ear. So we really sat down and we tried to figure out, okay, how are we going to reach these students without it going in through one ear, coming out through the other, right? And so we decided to come up with this program, and it's 2-week program. I'm trying to think, okay, how much can a student handle, right? And how long are these lessons? And what do they look like? Are they engaging? Who's the one that's going to teach these lessons, right? And so I had to come from every angle to make sure that this prevention education, right? Because we're always at the other end for compliance, right? And now we're starting at the beginning. So now, even if we reach a big group, right, and we talk to them about healthy relationships, positive social interactions, right? Because I walk down the halls and I just hear, shut up, nah, you're this, nah, and they're having a tough time figuring out how to interact with each other because they've been home for 2 years.
They are always with their phone.
Texting, and they talk to each other a certain way on text.
Yeah.
And then they see each other and they're like, oh wait, this is weird, right? And they've just been home for a really long time. So today I'm gonna go through one of the modules with you. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like in the classroom, one of the modules. So this is the beginning module. We didn't want to go straight into, hey, don't, be kind to each other, but don't be rude. We wanted to start from the beginning. What kind of interactions are you having at school? Because they're like, none, my friends, and that's it. But they need to understand, right, that they have interactions with everyone, their teachers, their parents, before they come to school, their siblings, right, their friends. So that's the focus of the program. It's just respectful behaviors, healthy relationships, peer-to-peer interactions inside the classroom and outside during lunch, during passing periods, right? When they go home, in sports, in their after-school activities, getting along, because then you guys are the ones that get the phone calls, right? Saying like, this happened. And so it's just to open up the conversation. So when they're in class, it's all content, right? But we need to include more this language, right? This conversation of, hey, how are you guys doing? How are you guys getting along? How is it going in class? How is it going in your sports, right? So they're about 30-minute mini lessons, okay? And they're about 2 weeks long. But the teacher can present it however they want. The teacher can say, hey, let's do it at the beginning of class. Let's do it at the end of class. Let's do it every Friday. Friday is going to be Healthy Relationships Day, Social Awareness Day, right? Positive Interaction Day. So we just gave them the tools, and then each school and each teacher is going to figure out what's the best way to present this to their students because they know them the best, right? Who are the ones that interact with your students the most? Is their teachers, their friends, and you guys, right? And so we include all kinds of things. Kahoot, they love Kahoot. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kahoot, but it's like a game, right? They play, they love Kahoot. So we included some Kahoot, some surveys, some graphic organizers, all kinds of resources to engage them. Some of the topics, we start off with positive social interactions. Then they go into, hey, understanding that everyone's different. Things happen at home with each student, and it's different than what's going on with you at home, right? Everyone is coming to school, and they all have different life experiences, right? So we kind of go into that. We go into creating safe schools. Like you walk down your hallway, what do you want to hear? Cussing or fighting, or do you want to hear students getting along, talking about their day? So just having them become aware of like what it is. How do they want to come to school every day? What do they want their school to look like every day, right? Warning signs of teen dating abuse, right? Because we can't avoid, some students do have dating or they're talking, right? They're talking to someone at school. So we just kind of talk to them a little bit about, hey, what are the signs of a relationship? It doesn't matter if it's a friendship, a student-teacher relationship. What are the signs of it being toxic, they say, right? Not healthy. Because ultimately it's gonna affect you at school, right? And when you go home. We talk about healthy relationships. We talk about what is harassment, because when they're in that situation, sometimes they say, wait, I didn't know that you can't say that. I didn't know that was discriminatory. I didn't know that was considered sexual harassment. I was just joking with my friend, and I was just pushing them. And then they're in these certain situations, right? So that's when we kind of bring in boundaries and we kind of talk about, hey, we got to know your school policy. We got to know the district policy so that you're not at the end and say, oh, I didn't know, right? We want to avoid that. Did you have anything to add? All right. So this is what and does anyone have any questions up to this point about the program or anything like that?
I have a question.
Yes.
The program is going to be presented to each different school or when is that? Or am I?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, that's a great question. So we're creating a little soft approach. First, we were going to just do certain schools, and we met with the principals. They're like, no, we want it at our school, right? But with COVID testing and everything going on, I personally went to every single school, and I sat with either the assistant principal or they're like, hey, can you meet with our target intervention teacher? Can you meet with our health teacher? I think this is really good in PE, or I think this is really good with. So I met with one representative from each school. And some tell me, ooh, this is good for all my advisories because we're already doing lessons like this. I'm going to have all the teachers, they're ready. Some schools were like that. Some schools were like, ooh, okay, let me talk to my parents. Let me talk to my, and maybe we can roll this out next year or something, right? Let's figure out how we can roll it out at our school. So every school was different. So it depends on what school your student is at. But someone at that school has seen it and someone at that school is figuring out, creating a team on how to roll this out, fitting the best needs of their students. Some wanted a small group to test it out and so that they can kind of figure it out. And then I'm just there as a liaison, as help. I presented this at schools so that I can kind of work out, what I need to.
Are you working in the schools now?
So I'm the liaison, so I can go to any school, whatever school needs me, right?
Yes, so I want to backtrack just a little bit. So last year, when we started to realize that kids were coming back in person and they were having all these conflicts, I went to the district and I said, I need a TOSA. TOSA stands for Teacher on Special Assignment. So I pulled Natalie, because I knew of her skill set, out of her classroom. So she's full-time in our office and she can create this curriculum and go to all the schools. When we first thought about it and we conceptualized it, we thought, okay, let's just pick 3 middle schools and 3 high schools and Natalie will pilot the program. Everybody wanted it. All the principals were like, no, pick me, So we decided, like on the fly, okay, for this year, we're going to put the curriculum out. Natalie's going to meet with all the schools. This is what we have. Some of them have already done it. Some of them are getting it ready for the start of next school year. And then next year, we're going to evaluate the program and make changes and then hopefully make it compulsory as we move forward.
Yeah. Our goal was really for the schools to just open up the conversation. Just open up, we could even change it a little bit here and there, but open up the conversation. So that's kind of what.
Every school is different.
Yes, because every school is different and the needs are different, right? So this is kind of what it looks like for the students, right? It's a little bit different than our presentation, right? We make it colorful. And so we just say, hey, good morning, students. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Social interactions, positive relationships, and recognizing unhealthy behaviors. So every little mini lesson starts the same. So they kind of know, and then the topics are a little bit different, right? And we tell them I love checking in with students, right? All right, let's check in. You guys raise your finger. Let me know how you're feeling today. How you're feeling today, because depending if it was a weekend or so, you guys can go ahead. Tell me what number are you guys right now? Actually, I'm a 5 right now. A lot of them tell me chilling, they're teenagers, right? So like I'm a 4, This is where though, if a student is having a hard time, a teacher can recognize it right at the beginning, right? Before we go into, hey, how are we treating each other, things like that. They can already recognize it at the beginning. I'm a 1, and a teacher can go, by them and say, hey, make sure if you need to talk or if you need to go see your counselor, now is a great time to do it. Let me know. I'll check in with you at the end of class, right? And I do trainings for teachers. We're going to be doing big trainings so that all teachers that are presenting this kind of understand, why the purpose of each slide, right? And so then we talk to the students and we tell them, at school, you're socializing all the time, whether you know it or you don't know it, whether it's with teachers or whoever it is, right? So then I ask them, who do you socialize with at school? So what do you think some of their answers are? Who do you interact with at school? Who do you guys think your students interact with at
Friends.
school?
Friends.
Friends? Who else?
Teachers.
Teachers? Think about when they walk through the gate. Staff, other staff, right? It's not just, right, the friends. What is it?
Counselors.
Counselors, I like that one. And then we have coaches, right? When I present it to someone else, they say coaches. So we have friendships, we have student-teacher interactions, we have student-staff interactions. Then you have the ones that, friends of friends. Oh, so what happened? Oh, it's because, oh, that's your friend? No, that's not my friend. That's my friend's friend. That's not my friend. I'm like, well, okay,
Yeah.
who's your friend then, Friends of friends. You have the people, oh, is that your boyfriend or girlfriend, or who, why are you fighting with? Oh, no, so someone I'm just talking to. I'm just talking to them, right? That, I don't know, the language, right? Talking. And then you have peer-to-peer. So I explain to students, like, those are people that you interact with in your classroom. Those are your peers, even if they're not your friends, even if you don't talk to them. But in the classroom, those are people you interact with also, right? Some students might sit here and they'll never talk the whole entire class, right? Or they don't know each other. So I just want them to become aware, right? These are your peers. So that way when situations do happen or friction happens, it's hard in a big school, but you got to know that's someone that comes to school with you. You guys represent the same school. You guys are here together. You guys need to do this together, right? So it's just so that they're aware, because they only know friends, right? And I do little vocabulary pauses for them, and so that we have just as much as we can talk about it as possible, right? Let them know that all the social interactions and relationships, they're important. Imagine if you fight with your friend right before class. Oh, that's a bad class. You're not even paying attention. You're not even listening. Or even when they fight with their siblings, or they come to school and they're cranky, or something happened over the weekend, or
Siblings are the ones that.
yeah, or they check their social media that morning and something was posted or someone heard something, and you could just tell on their faces, right? And so the more talk we have like this, teachers can become more aware, right? Like they need a minute, or they need to talk, or something happened. But I just want students to also become aware. Every social interaction you have affects you positively. Some may make you feel good and happy and you're with your friends, and some may not. But the purpose of school is learning, right? Learning and your education, right? And learning that content and growing. But it's hard to do that if there's so much going on, right? But the purpose, though, we do always tell them the purpose of school is for learning, right? So we got to understand that it will affect your learning if you're not focused, right? Or aware of all your social interactions. So then we ask the students, how do we build positive relationships? How do you guys think we build positive relationships? If you were to give them advice, or if you were to say, talk to your student, what would you tell them about how we build positive, healthy relationships?
Empathy.
Empathy.
Your vibration of your tone of voice.
Tone, right? Even that smile, just smiling at someone.
Be confident.
Be confident. I like that one.
I'll say, listen to your friends.
Listen, right? Be a good listener. Communication, right? So we tell them having respect and trust. And remember, these are all the social interactions. So with your teachers, with your friends, with people in your classroom, people at lunch, with the staff, our custodial staff, our cafeteria staff, our front office staff, right? Having empathy and compassion. We told them it's showing kindness, right? Like just your tone, smile goes a long way. Then this one's a hard one for them. Forgiving for mistakes and taking responsibility. Man, once you get cross, it's like, oh, we're fighting now, or we don't get along, but as they grow up, they learn that, right? As young adults, they learn that. But maybe just opening that conversation with them about forgiving.
I work in an elementary, and for little kids, the thing is easy. Oh yeah, okay.
Right, they forgive.
But they grow and
Something
it's more
shifts,
hard,
something
yeah.
shifts, right? I know I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So all these things I try to come home and say, okay, don't fight with your brother. You got to let it go, because they get so angry. So it's
the difference of
you got to open that
Sometimes they get
conversation.
frustrated at school and then go at home and the siblings pay for everything.
And the siblings pay for it, right? So it's, all interactions, even at home, right? Boundaries is a really, it's a big word, and we have a whole lesson on boundaries, right? And it's just, like I tell my 6-year-old, if someone is bothering you, it's okay to tell them in a compassionate, respectful way, because you don't know what's going on with that kid, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't like that. I don't like he tells me a certain student plays rough. Well, tell them I don't like when you play rough, right? It's different in middle school and high school. They have a hard time saying that, but having boundaries, like I don't like that, right? Being able to say no, no, thank you, or I don't think I want to be friends with that person. I don't want to be friends with them because they don't make me feel good, right? It's really hard. It's a cycle. They stay in that kind of toxic cycle, right? And communication, being honest is a big thing, right? We also talk about, we want them to understand the traits of an unhealthy relationship, and it's okay to not be in that friendship. So teacher student is a little bit harder. You might have to, you're in a classroom, you might have to just say, okay, let's figure out a way to get along. But you don't have to be in every friendship, right? Or every friends of friends. You don't have to be in that group of friends, right? But what do you guys think? Like, again, let's say you would give them advice. What do you guys think the advice would be for them about what characteristics of an unhealthy relationship? Social interaction. What do you guys think? Negative, like, being judgmental, right? They're very judgy on each other, always like kind of looking and no communication, right? So we have gossip, rumors is a big one. Oh my goodness, the gossip.
I think it's only with girls, but men.
No, it's all of them.
Oh.
All of them. They all,
Yeah.
yeah, all of them. And on social media, right? Controlling, if one friend is controlling or, yeah, or one friend is just
No,
always.
if you wanna be my friend, you can talk to them.
Right, right. There's a lot of, where it's like, your friend, but I only talk about myself, or I only care, you know what I mean? And it's not a mutual friendship, right? And then it causes drama, right? Having no boundaries, just kind of letting things happen, and then they come home, and then you guys hear about it, right? You guys hear about what's going on, or their friends hear about it. Someone said jealousy. So I kind of change it around sometimes when a lot of students tell me the same word over and over. I was like, maybe I should put that in there. So they say jealousy. Jealousy is a big one. And then peer pressure, right? It's always like that group of friends, like, we're not friends with that person, or let's go do this, or today we're gonna act this way. Today is rude attitude day, right? I see that in the middle school. Today we're gonna use this
Even in
word.
high school.
Yeah. Today we're gonna use this rude, could be discriminating or harassing word, but your whole group's gonna say it. And it's being able to say no, right? And so that's the conversation we're having with them. And I've seen that a lot in the middle school. In the high school, they're better at keeping it on the hush hush. But in the middle school, they're just saying it out loud. And I'm like, excuse me. Oh, it's because that's the word of the day. The word of the day? Are you kidding me? Like, and so it's just having those conversations. But imagine if every teacher and every student is on the same page of like, no, we're not going to do that. We want our school to feel comfortable and safe and right.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we recognize also when we're looking at specific cases that end up with us is that the two people that have the conflict often are influenced by the outer circle, that everybody wants to see the show, right? The people that have their camera out are
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's
Instead
not
of
these two,
getting.
right? So that's part of peer pressure also, is that we're
Yeah.
recognizing that outer circle is influencing these two people that really might not want to have conflict with each other. But for the fact that the outer circle is anxious to see something that they can post, or, you know what I mean?
Right. And part of my job when I worked at Hilltop Middle School was, who doesn't like who? Oh, no, no, no. And I would take one out, take the other out, and we'll sit, we'll have a chat. You guys don't have to be friends, but you need to tell your friend groups that this is not going to happen. And most of the time they're like, oh, thank goodness you did this. Because if not, I would have had to, fight her because my friends say. And so that's what I found a lot in the middle school, is like just a little bit of communication. I go, you don't even have to say that we met. Just, nah, I'm over her. I'm over it. I'm over him. We're not gonna fight because really it's that circle, right? Your friends. We also show this video, and I'm going to show this for you guys today. So I'm going to play it, and then we have some discussion about it, right?
Y'all ready for this?
People have to communicate, but they also have to have boundaries. When you truly care, you're caring, and your heart is just like with the other person. Two people who have a great connection, who has around the same values or different values that they're are respectful towards. I would say they're comfortable with each other and they let each other know that.
They're also like supportive of each other and being like thoughtful, so
They have to be understanding, like ask questions, but definitely trying to see the other person as a person and not just like an instrument to use. Treats them with respect. I feel like that's like the #1 trait that you should have in a relationship. I would want to know when they thought about me and stuff.
Feel safe to talk to me and also like wants to know about my day and cares about how I'm feeling and that like we're laughing together, but also like we can be very serious together.
I think my parents have a healthy relationship, but even though we sometimes get mad at each other and get things out of their systems, they're still like supportive and they still compromise and do a lot of things for each other.
My brother and his girlfriend are a very good relationship because they spend time with each other and value each other very much.
Can I say mine? Of course. Yeah. Well, my boyfriend treats me super well, and I'm so appreciative and grateful. 10 months. Yeah.
It's approaching that year mark.
I know, it's crazy. Thank you.
One thing I do want to point out is that one of the genius things that Natalie does is she understands that our district is a spectrum of ages, that really our youngest kids are 12 and our oldest kids are 18. So she's able to pull in and out resources for high school and middle school level. These were high school kids, right? So we would use that distinction.
Right. So for my middle school, it's more of a cartoonish, like, oh, my friendship, and it's a cartoon and someone going over and they're like, oh, my friends are being mean to me and I'm not going to go to the dance and things like that. So this one was a little bit more what I like when they talk about more of like having a healthy relationship, right? And what I like when then I talk to the students is like, hey, who models a like good relationship? Oh, my parents, right? Or my siblings, right? Because those are the things that they see all day when they're home. And then we go into, it's all your social interactions. It's with your teacher. It's with your coaches. So the coaches is a big one too, right? Because that dynamic, that's the one they heavily rely on. And Mr. Hughes was a coach, so he knows. And so that kind of, the coach relationship with the student also affects, right, them. Friendships, friends of friends, because they only see healthy social interactions are like very narrow. I either have a friend or a boyfriend or that's it. It's like, no, it's all your interactions. It's with your siblings. It's with your daily interactions. It doesn't matter who it's with, right? It could be with the front office lady. You come in, you say hi, you smile. That'll put you in a good mood. It might put them in a good mood, right? And so it's contagious. So we kind of go into that conversation. And then we kind of just wrap things up. I have a graphic organizer, so I wasn't going to make you guys write, but they write and they answer questions, and we kind of end the mini lesson talking about, hey, no matter what, kind of what I just said, doesn't matter what social interaction you're in, open communication, being respectful, right? And then that's when they bring in, well, what if they're not respectful to me? And so it's just to open the conversation and we kind of talk about it and we bring other peers in so they can kind of give their advice. Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. So go ahead, Mr. Hughes.
So again, compliance, sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, what does that word mean? What does the compliance office do? So we wanted to give you like an overview of everything that we do. So I talked a little bit about athletics. We do work with the athletics office specifically around Title IX, which is the federal law that says that female athletes need to have the same opportunities as male athletes. So I'll give you for instance, Natalie and Brianne Martinez, our other teacher on special assignment who's assigned to athletics. They go out to promote girls' sports. They'll go to like the PE classes all day and promote field hockey or whatever sport we're looking to build up for girls. So they've been doing that at this high school included. That's a good thing, and it's a positive thing that we're doing. We're starting girls water polo in a couple weeks. We're gonna do camps for middle school students because girls water polo after COVID saw some drop in the number of girls participating. So we're gonna go to the middle schools, invite them to go to the pool during these hours and learn how to play water polo. So we're just, a lot of the sports don't have like a little league or, a junior, like soccer, you can start playing when you're 2 and you can play all the way to high school, right? Little league baseball, all those, but some sports like field hockey and lacrosse, we haven't built that at the lower levels, especially for girls. So that's why we're enlisting the TOSAs. Any concerns about discrimination? We cover in our office, the uniform complaint system, which is a complaint that your student was discriminated against based on one of the 18 classes. So if you file a complaint, you said, my student was treated this way because of their race, their religion, their gender, their medical condition, their disability. Those are the protected classes in California. There's 18 of them. So that type of complaint would come to our office and we would help to resolve that. And if necessary, do an investigation. Any concerns about sexual harassment? And we have our sexual harassment policies that cover like day-to-day interactions with kids. That's more like language, like sexual innuendo or calling names or saying things like that. But we also have a policy that covers like sexual assault that sometimes we do have to deal with in our office. Questions about school-connected organizations. Our newest term in our district is school-connected organization. You probably know them like I do it growing up. They're booster clubs, right? So we have all these school-connected organizations that exist to support one of our programs. And our office does a lot to make sure that those school-connected organizations have a plan, have a budget, are following the policies of the district, those types of things. So we interact with booster clubs for athletics, booster clubs for visual and performing arts, anything that supports a school. We kind of monitor to make sure that that support is both being done right and according to the laws in California. State and federal laws, any state and federal law, we deal with directly. Homeless and foster youth, how they're treated. Transfer students from military families, how they're treated. There's like some very niche things that we, very specific things that our office would deal with because there's specific laws that protect those kids when they transfer. So those would be something that we would cover. And again, our biggest ones are any type of discrimination. You can always reach us at the compliance office. I do have my cards available afterwards also if anybody has any questions. Because our office is often seen as like the complaint office, we do get a lot of calls that we would not handle directly, but we serve as like the ombudsman persons for the district, and we help you follow your concern to the school site. So once I receive it, I talk to the principal or I talk to the assistant principal or a director of a program. I say, this parent has this concern. And then I just kind of help you and I monitor that concern and make sure that it gets addressed. So you can always come to us and we'll find the right person and the right regulation or policy that the district has to handle your specific concern.
Yeah. And so we're coming up on time, but we do have a little feedback survey that you guys can feel free to either take a picture of the link or do it right now or do it later. But all you have to do is enter this in bit.ly parents May 7th and our survey should come up. So like I said, you can do it now, you can do it later, but that's just kind of asking if you guys have any questions about the presentation or the lessons.
Does anybody have any questions before we? What do you think of the program overall? Do you think it's
very good.
something that's needed?
Will be very useful. Yeah.
And so the schools have to ask you for the program or you can?
I'm in contact with one person at each school, either it's the AP or something. So I'm gonna be working with them and say, hey, how's it going? Have you started? And whichever schools need the most support.
Chula Vista High?
Yes, I've gone to Chula Vista High. I'm meeting with one of the counselors there. So I met with 2 teachers. They're the peer education teachers.
Okay.
And I met with one of the counselors there. So she's ready to kind of roll it out as we go.
Because they have something called that Wellness Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
But
Right, so maybe to include it in a Wellness Wednesday or something. Yeah, definitely. I know the schools were a little bit overwhelmed with coming back and COVID testing and everything.
Yeah.
So we wanted to introduce it now so that they're ready, like summer and by next school year. But some schools are like, hey, I'll do it now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
They do a lot of stuff
Mhm.
and include us as parents there.
Oh,
But I
Teresa,
just
hi.
want to know.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
because in the school are happening things, bad things too.
Yeah,
So they have to be one step up.
one step before them. Yes, I know.
What about Casper High?
Castle Park High. We are definitely always at Castle Park High because of our Title IX. Right?
Right. So our district, we work a lot with Castle Park High School because like 8 years ago, there was a Title IX case that we still monitor
Okay.
with athletics. So Castle Park is the model Title IX school for female athletics. It's one of our only schools that's 6 years in a row. They've had more female
They,
athletes than male.
they already had a assembly for women.
Right.
Oh, we were there, yeah.
So they're way ahead of the game
Yeah.
with those types of
Okay.
things.
Yeah, so I met with Miss Owens. She's the AP
Okay,
for
yeah,
ASB. So she was excited. She thought they're gonna change the schedule next year.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna have like some type of advisory in the morning or something, or she's hoping, right?
Yeah.
So she's thinking, ooh, I may want to do it through there. But she's really excited. She has all these ideas, Miss Owens is there. And so she was thinking that maybe she'll try to do it during advisory. But she definitely wants to meet with me at the end of the school year. She goes, let me get through all this stuff, and then at the end of the school year, we'll meet to make a plan.
It's good to have this program because in the elementary, they have a PBIS thing.
PBIS.
Yeah.
The positive behavior intervention. Yeah, I know. And it's good that you guys are aware, like we want to get more parents involved so that they know what they're talking about. So when they go home and they're like, oh, I don't know. Oh, what about that one, presentation? What'd you guys talk about today? What do you think? So, because they see you guys the most and teachers, right? And their friends. So you guys are definitely, the other component, the other major component that we want to bring in.
Yeah, honestly, we've presented for all of our district parent advisory groups, DLAC, ELAC, and DPAC, and we haven't found anybody who said, no, we don't like that.
Yeah, they have
Everybody
this
seems to say this is needed. I see it for my kids. I'm a parent of a sophomore. I see that he definitely needs some of this, and talking about the relationships and boundaries and things like that.
And it's also like a stepping stone. So when I go to the schools and they say, ooh, but at this school, we're very like Trojan and we have, or we have certain things. I'm like, yeah, let's build it into that. So it doesn't feel like separate. I don't want the students to be like, oh, here goes another program or what, I want it to feel very much a part of the school. So, right, like exactly. So they can, I work with whoever is going to be presenting and we try to make it part of their school. So it's not something separate. It's just to open the conversation about positive interactions. Did you have a question?
So what other preventive tools are you utilizing to help with, healthy relationships and like mental health for students?
That's great. That's a perfect question. So one of the things that another division in our district, the Student Services Division is doing is an MTS team, right? So Natalie is part of that, and that's the mental health wellness component. So we just started to like integrate like this program with that, but there's all sorts of resources that we have with regard to counselors and outside resources, some of our partners like South Bay Community Services, things like that. So if a kid needs more than just this training and we discover that, or the teacher discovers that, we have a list of resources that we can refer the parent and the student to that are outside. In terms of skills, Natalie is a certified restorative practices teacher. So she does a lot of that type of activity where we get to that hardest link, and that hardest link is absolutely kids taking ownership of what they did and then making amends for it. So she has the ability to do that. We use Natalie sometimes in one-on-one situations where kids have had an interaction, the punishment has already been doled out, right? They're out of school for a few days, but now they got to come back and coexist. So and she does those
Integration.
restorative components.
Yeah. But there's so much going on. So this is just a small part of that healthy relationships, but student services and our like psychologists on special assignment and our counselor on special assignment, they're doing so much. So what we're trying to do is we want to just get this out now so they have something, right? Because the schools need it now. What we're trying to do is trying to combine everything, right? So the whole school has all these resources. So this is just a small component that you're actually seeing because we wanted to come and bring it out here. But there's so many other things that schools are doing.
Yeah.
They're just reaching out for help here and there. So it's up to the school to really like, but we're trying to team up with, so we can bring it all.
But
to
if we
the
can
school.
tell the school, hey, why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So is that the answer?
No, that's good. That's good.
Anyone else?
Oh,
Alright.
one quick, so this list that you guys have for resources, is this available, the same list available basically for teachers, for parents, basically to view that list and utilize those resources when needed?
Definitely.
Yeah, so and I should have, in education, we talk with acronyms. I say MTSS team, and I didn't even explain. It's called Multi-Tiered Systems of Support.
Mm.
And we have a link for this program that has resources that's set on the last day that we send out to all the kids, and those types of things. But the MTSS team and Natalie in conjunction will have those lists. But you can go to any of our websites, our student services website, and you can see those outside agency links.
Right. And they go to the counselors. The counselors do a really good job with like talking to each class and talking to the schools and having those things available for them too, especially when it comes to mental health.